Greetings, folks. This is DC Investing, Reach Financial Independence, and I'm talking about topics that may help others on their pathway to financial independence. And there's an acronym out there called FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. I like to change it to say Financial Independence, Recreational Employment. That means, if you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you don't necessarily need the money. You can choose to do whatever work you want to do as opposed to being forced to do it. So that's kind of one of the things that I like. But I really think the beginning of becoming financially independent, it comes down to the idea that you've got to make a choice to do that. It needs to be important to you, more so important than other things. And I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about trying to identify yourself and what is most important to you. And they kind of said, if you got a windfall of like $10,000 or $20,000 or something, what would you do with it? And one of the guys said, go rent a Lamborghini. I'm like, what? And the reason why he said that's important is because the gal said, well, if you got this free $10,000 and what you choose to do with it would be rent a Lamborghini for 2 months, that probably means the thing that's important to you is status. What other people think of you is one of your core lifestyle things. And so, just knowing that about yourself is an important distinction. And in that case, that definitely kind of works against the idea of being financially independent unless you're making a ton of money because of your status. So for me, while I think a Lamborghini is a cool thing and it might be fun to drive for a little bit, I look at it as more expense. Every repair is extremely expensive. The tires are probably $1,000 a piece. Just wearing those out anytime you need an oil change or something else, it's just another huge expense you have to pay for in your life. So I'm not seeking something like a Lamborghini in my life, but what I do want is financial freedom to not have to go to work if I don't want to. And so kind of coming around to the point where you realize, hey, I am shooting for something different than the rest of the world. Maybe I don't want to pay for experiences. I would rather save that money and invest it so that I don't have to work someday, and then I get freedom to do, reasonable economic experiences. And I'm not forced to work day after day. But it's a mindset. You have to choose to make that your focus and then act in that direction. So, it's not enough to say, yeah, I want to be financially independent someday, but it's then important to kind of set in motion the behaviors that help you reach that destination. And so one of the things I did along that time, I'm an engineer, so I create spreadsheets, and Excel makes sense to me. And so I had a list of every place that I had saved money, whether it was, what are my vehicles worth? Do I have any precious metals saved? What are my retirement assets? Do I have money markets? What are the bank accounts? And I would just always keep track of where, basically what my net worth was, because, I was really trying to shoot towards getting to having $1 million in net worth or net assets. And I remember the day that I realized that I had crossed that point. That was really a cool day because it changed the way I thought about myself. But it was kind of a long-term process that I had to make some different decisions in my life. And so, I knew where I had every asset set aside, and then I tried to save more into things. And so I ramped up some of the savings into my 401k plan. We did an IRA for my wife. I had an IRA myself, and I would just kind of choose, depending on what happened to my salary every year, how much we were going to save into retirement plans. I learned the tax code to make it the most efficient for me to save. And then just kind of did this year after year. And really, I was trying to buy my freedom. I wanted to be free from having to work. And so it's a long-term process. It probably took me a decade of time to save up the assets to the point where now the assets can pay for all of my expenses. But it was deliberate. I made that decision, and to say what's more important to me is to be able to have complete freedom and control over my time. And it's worth pursuing in my life in order to get that benefit. And so, it's possible for anybody to reach this um, this state in life. And I was watching, there was some article about Dave Ramsey, and he said there's 5 types of people that become millionaires more often. And I remember 2 of those were interesting. One was engineers, and 2 was actually school teachers, which I thought was interesting. Missing from the list were lawyers and doctors and some of the other folks that have high salaries. But Dave Ramsey said the reason why engineers and school teachers end up becoming millionaires more often is because they follow structured plans and they can make structured plans really well. As an engineer, I created the spreadsheet and kind of followed my plan. But if you have to make lesson plans as a school teacher all the time and follow your regiment, if you choose to, make a financial plan and then follow it, that puts you in a successful course. And so that's the principle today: is decide that what's important to you. Maybe social status is the thing that's important and you really want a Lamborghini, and rather than financial freedom. And if that's you, that's you. But for me, I wanted financial freedom. And so I worked and saved over a long period of time to save up assets. And I'm right on that cusp of not needing a job anymore. And real soon I'm going to cross that milestone where I don't have a daily job. So we'll see you. Thanks for being a subscriber. Bye.